Zach, what do you think is next for Jose Mourinho?
So for me, what is next for Jose Mourinho is a job in international management. I think his time in club football is no longer. Yeah. I think the way the football's moving now, if you want to be a manager in club football, you've got to maybe play a more expansive game. We're seeing a lot of teams at the top want to play expansive football, and we know Mourinho's style of football is far from expansive.
No, yeah,
it's pragmatic, it's men behind the ball, and it's a bit prehistoric almost.
Yeah.
So I think with international football, that would work because players aren't playing there regularly. They're not going to... A player may not want to sign for a Mourinho team if he's playing pragmatic football. Whereas if it's with international, one, they've got no choice unless they want to represent their country. And two, at international level, we've seen it can work. It's knockout football. Apart from all these stupid friendlies, it's knockout football. If he managed Portugal and he took them to the World Cup, yes, they've got a lot of quality players that you may feel like he's hampering with his pragmatic style, but Portugal want to go deep in the Euros, deep in the World Cup. Maybe he could grind out results in those competitions. And we've also seen Mourinho is not the best in man management in recent times.
True, yeah.
And with international teams and international players,
it's not needed as much.
You're not seeing them regularly. You don't sort of build that same relationship like you do at club level. So for me, I think we probably won't see him in the Premier League ever. If we do,
he's box office.
I know he is box office, but I don't think we'll ever see him in the Premier League again.
Unless he's at Tottenham, I don't like watching.
And his wages as well. I don't think small teams would be able to afford Mourinho's wages, and the top teams won't because of his style of play. So I think Mourinho's gone. We'll never see him in the Premier League. I think his future is in international management. So what do you think of?
So do you think, just touch on the international management, do you think Portugal is the best suited job for him then?
I know Portugal, a lot of quality players in terms of they're all technically gifted. They're like players like Jota, Bernardo Silva, even like ball-playing centre-backs like Ruben Diaz, and obviously they've got that Gonzalo Ramos up top who looks like quite a good striker, and Cancelo and many more that I can't think off the top of my head. But I think Ronaldo. But in terms of, like the future of Portugal, I don't think he'll be there in the future. But do I think that is he best suited to Portugal? Maybe not in the sense of they got loads of quality players, but like I said, I think although Portugal did win the Euros a few years ago, if they want to go for a trophy like the World Cup, the biggest of them all, I think maybe a manager like Mourinho would be an upgrade on their current manager in terms of experience. I know not at international level, but in terms of grinding out results. And we know what knockout football's like at international tournaments. It's often not very high scoring, they're cagey games. International teams are defined by their style of play. And I know someone like Brazil wouldn't employ Mourinho because they want to play expansive.
No, not at all.
But but a team like Portugal with Mourinho being Portuguese, I think they would jump on board with that idea potentially.
I think they'd cater to Mourinho really well. I think they'd warm to him because he's a Portuguese guy himself.
Yeah, exactly.
He's been in Portugal. He's managed like Porto, brought them to Champions League. Brought them a Champions League.
I think the fans of Portugal will get on side with him. I think they would.
Yeah, I think they would. The passion he shows as well. Like Mourinho's not a boring guy. He doesn't sit there and sit with his arms folded. No. He's there. He's up for the moment.
And the players will probably trust him as well because of his wealth of experience.
That's true. Yeah. Listen, I think Portugal is a very good job that is suited for him. Another international team that has been spoken about, not even surprisingly, a lot of people don't like this guy, is England. Gareth Southgate. They don't like him. Do you see Mourinho going to take an England job? Do you think that would work?
Not at all. I think a lot of people pick at Gareth Southgate, one, because he's not very experienced, but two, because he holds back a lot of England's quality players. And I think Mourinho, I know his approach to football is different to Gareth Southgate, but it's along the same lines in the sense of it's not expansive, it's more on the pragmatic side. So I think if they did employ someone like Mourinho and he came in and he was manager of England for the Euros or the World Cup going forward, I think a lot of England fans would be saying, we've just upgraded on Gareth Southgate in terms of quality, but in terms of the brand of football we want to play, with the quality attacking players that we have, because England, bit light in the defence, not a fullback, but in central defence, bit light in midfield, but up top and out wide, we've got an array of talent. So I think if you had Mourinho in, it wouldn't really get the best out of that talent. So I think England, I know this is a topic for another day, but I think they need to get a manager in who will play more of an expansive game. So I don't think he'd be a fit for England. Why do you?
I think Mourinho, and I agree with you in terms of I don't think he's a perfect manager for England, but I disagree with the point. I think in terms of the way that England play with Southgate, it's actually kind of similar to Mourinho in terms of it's boring, it's low block, it'll sit back. They won't try and dominate the ball. They will try and sort of hand back and get a counter-attacking goal with the quality we have on the attack. I think Mourinho could actually get a lot of quality out of that. He could get results out of that for England. He's great in cup competitions. We've seen that. He's fantastic. I think he could get something, like, especially in the World Cup as well.
So if Southgate left tomorrow, and obviously Mourinho's there, would you say,
But this is why I would not take him.
Because you want a more expansive coach?
No, because listen, I'd rather have an expansive coach, don't get me wrong. But in terms of I'd have him over Southgate, but the only reason I wouldn't want to take him is because of the relationship that he'd have with the media in terms of when Southgate when Southgate came in, he built that relationship with the media and England. He sort of
Was
built
it
England up
Waistcoat
again.
Wednesday or something like that?
Waistcoat Wednesday. But listen, he built a really good relationship with England. The
True.
England squad have never been sort of this sort of happy in a way. We've never seen an England team this
Yeah, there was a
together.
good ethos around the club, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah, there was a massive, great feeling about, like, the really feel-good factor about England, like, absolutely under Southgate.
Both the Euros and the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly, and I think Mourinho would just, he'd probably destroy it, I'll be real, because he just doesn't have a good relationship with media in general. We've seen how he is. I know, listen, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think man management is necessarily needed at England, but I think Mourinho is the type of guy that could end up upsetting that. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind him in a cup competition, but the reason I wouldn't have him is just because of that relationship with the media. Because the minute it would start going wrong, if England lose one result, the media will get back on the media will get on Mourinho's back, because that's what the media do. The English media probably wouldn't like him, so as soon as they get on his back, it just becomes a little bit toxic then.
And even if Mourinho did win a major trophy with England, everyone would be ecstatic. But it's not quite the same as if someone who was English, who's obviously grown up, maybe even played in the national team or grown up in England and knows what sort of the nation's about. I know Mourinho does because he's coached here for a number of years, but in terms of having an English manager for an English team, like having a Brazilian manager for a Brazilian team, or a Portuguese for a Portuguese, or a German for a German, I think it's better suited if you do have someone who is from your country,
I agree,
or at least has lived there for most of their life.
I think that's where you could see Eddie Howe come in, but I think that's another conversation for another day about who comes in as England manager. But in terms of club management, could we see Mourinho make a return there? Because the clubs I've got written down here are Chelsea, Barcelona, and Newcastle. Now, we'll start with Chelsea because that's the main one. Do you think we could see a return to Chelsea? Because let's be honest, it's nostalgic. We've seen the likes of Roy Jennings, who wants Jose Mourinho back at the club.
Oh my word!
So
this guy lives in Cookie Land.
So listen, it's nostalgic. Chelsea fans would probably be on board with it because of nostalgia, right? Not saying anything to do with his ability, but because of nostalgia.
Because in recent time, their best team was under Mourinho.
He does win trophies, so he would demand respect from the players. Maybe they definitely didn't have that for Potter. They might not quite have it for Poch, but if Mourinho came in, he'd absolutely put that squad into their place, and he could win a trophy with Chelsea. But what do you think, Zach? Do you think we could see a return to Chelsea from Mourinho, and do you think it would work out?
No, I don't think we'll ever see him return to Chelsea. One, it would be his third stint at Chelsea, and we've rarely ever seen a manager have 3 stints at the same football club.
That's true, yeah.
Second of all, they have many young players at Chelsea, many exuberant talents, players that Chelsea want to flourish, like Cole Palmer, Madueke, Levi Colwill, Mudryk. The list goes on and on. Enzo Fernandez, Conor Gallagher. Chelsea are filled with young players, and Mourinho tends to get the best out of the players who are at the peak of their game. He doesn't seem to favour young players as we've seen at his previous clubs. So I don't really think he'd be suited to the current Chelsea squad. And also, like I said, the way teams are moving forward, they want to play an expansive game. They want to get a coach in who plays an expansive style of football, and we know Mourinho isn't about that. So I think those 3 points there totally exclude Chelsea and Mourinho from ever linking up again.
That's true. I don't think it would happen me personally, I don't think it would happen. But if Chelsea did sign sort of more experienced players, because let's be real, Chelsea sort of do need to sign more experienced players. The young players they do have I'm not saying they're not good, but it's going to take some time for their.
They need some players around them who have a lot of experience and you look at the top level.
Well, the players that are performing at the moment are the likes of Thiago Silva, who are the most experienced in the team.
But then Cole Palmer's one of the youngest.
Yeah, Cole Palmer is an exceptional talent, and
he's an anomaly, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He's an anomaly because you look at a lot of the Chelsea players that are there, the young talents that are there. They're not performing. They're not doing well at all.
It's not the right environment for them, is it?
Exactly. But I think if they did bring in some experience, like I'm not saying Thiago Silva's age, but in terms of because Chelsea do have that ability to
winners.
Bring in, yeah, exactly. They can bring in winners. So if they brought in some more experienced players, we could see Mourinho maybe flourish.
You don't think it just seems like they're going back in time?
Listen, I don't necessarily think it should happen, but I would be possibly on board if they brought in experienced players, because I think if you brought in experienced players, you've got the great sort of mix of both. You've got young talents and then you've got experienced players. Balance. Exactly, and I think Mourinho could work well with both, but the main sort of issue that I would have is just his style of football. Yeah. I mean, Chelsea, I'll be used to it. They've seen it before. They've seen it with the likes of Conte.
I just think where the game's going, this style of football's going out of fashion, especially for the top teams.
Yeah, I wouldn't
City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, what do they all play? Expansive football.
Yeah, and it'd be a gamble. It'd be a gamble to go for Mourinho, but I'd like to see it just because it's box office. Like, let's be real.
It would be good entertainment from an outsider's point of view, but as a Chelsea fan, I think you would be pretty annoyed.
I think I've made a good case in terms of why he could be.
Yeah, I think you have, but
I don't think he would be my sort of best suit for Chelsea.
And I don't think that will happen.
No, exactly. And then obviously another Premier club that there has been talks about the manager possibly leaving is Newcastle with Eddie Howe. Could we see Mourinho come in? Because let's be real, he would bring in that winning culture that Newcastle desperately need right now.
True.
I'm not going to sit here and say Eddie Howe's not good enough and he needs to win trophies.
But he's not a proven winner like Mourinho.
Exactly.
He's not the same pedigree of manager at all.
Exactly, and Newcastle needs to win trophies to get that winning mentality across. We actually did a video on Newcastle not so long ago. You could check that out, and we did address Mourinho and about how Eddie Howe, if he is sacked, who do they go for? What do they do? And he has that attraction, by the way. He has that pull. He can bring in good players. With the FFP issues Newcastle have, they might have to look to do cheaper transfers or more
shrewd business.
More shrewd business, and maybe that would be looking at doing sort of a free agent signings. And Mourinho, that's actually one of his main sort of assets at Roma. He actually could bring in quality players, the likes of Wijnaldum, the likes of Lukaku, the likes of Dybala, on a free or on a loan, because of his reputation, because he's a world-class manager, or known as a world-class manager. And I think he could bring in top players at Newcastle. And I think he could also, like I said, win a trophy. I think that Newcastle needs that winning culture. Maybe, again, the issue is here, and it seems like I've got an agenda for his style of play, but the style of play at Newcastle, I don't know if it would suit
the
their
Geordies
fans.
want exciting football. When City, Arsenal and Liverpool come to St James's Park, yes, those three teams are going to have more possession. It's understandable, the way they play, the quality of players they have.
Yeah,
but Eddie Howe isn't a pragmatic manager, nor maybe an expansive one, but he takes the game to the opposition. They press. They cause problems for City, Liverpool and Arsenal when they go there. Especially Arsenal, as we've seen in recent seasons, and even City. Yes, Liverpool have quite a good record at St James's Park, but they still don't come away from there, as we've seen this season.
They
sort of like
they go for it.
It wasn't. Exactly.
The main thing about Newcastle is energy. That's what their fans want, and Mourinho's team doesn't bring that, because I think everything else he actually does have that Newcastle sort of need. Because I think that winning mentality is, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that Eddie Howe needs to go win trophies like consistently. I get the FFP, all that stuff, but if they don't have that winning mentality for in the next few years, if they don't win a trophy. Like, if I was a Newcastle fan, I'd take a League Cup and finish 10th at this point, because if they don't win a trophy...
It starts the players off. They get that taste of silverware.
It's happened at Tottenham. I know this at Tottenham. Like, when you don't win a trophy for a certain amount of time, it plays on you. It plays on your mind. Yeah. So when Newcastle, especially, there'd be even more pressure on Newcastle because of their money and their owners that they have and who's behind the club. If they haven't won a trophy in years and years and years, it's going to play on their minds because people are constantly bringing it up. And so that's when, like, a final now for Newcastle, if they got there and won, it'd be brilliant for them, and I don't think there'd be much pressure on them if they were in a final like they were against United. There's not a load of pressure, but in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, if they haven't won anything and they're in a final, there's going to be so many eyes on them. There's going to be so many people.
True.
A bit like when Tottenham were in a final, in terms of everyone's like, oh, will Tottenham win a trophy, or will they bottle it? And there's just so much everyone's waiting to see what's going to happen, and that would be the same with Newcastle if they can't win a trophy or can't get a silverware over in the next few years. And I think Mourinho would come in and bring. I'd absolutely 100%.
Yeah, I'd back him to win, like
trophy.
You said, a League Cup, or if they were in the Europa League or something, win the Europa League.
FA Cup.
But I think the way Newcastle, I know you said in the short term, but I think they've got to try and opt for a manager who, I reiterate it, who plays expansive football,
of course,
who plays on the front foot, but also has some sort of winning pedigree.
Yeah.
A manager maybe like Unai Emery.
I was thinking of that. That's actually what I was thinking of.
Is like, he isn't an amazing manager in the sense of he's not a level of a Mourinho, but he still plays a somewhat expansive game. And he's won trophies. And I think a manager like Unai Emery would be a perfect fit for Newcastle post Eddie Howe. Because I think Eddie Howe, I don't know if he's taken Newcastle as far as he possibly can, but I think we're starting to see now where his weaknesses lie and where maybe his limitations are as Newcastle manager. So yeah, I think Mourhinio could be a viable option. But like I said at the start of the video, I think a move to the Premier League is just super, super unlikely.
Yeah, it's very unlikely unless he moved to a team like Palace, which, listen...
But then would they be able to... It's the wages, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I think Zach's right. I think unless it's Newcastle, I don't see a return to the Premier League for Mourinho, as much as I'd love it. He's box office. But that does move me on to a team that are abroad, in Spain, a club that he used to manage, Real Madrid. It is their rivals, Barcelona. Now, Xavi's been under a lot of scrutiny at the moment.
He made a video.
We talked about a video. We talked about Xavi's issues that he has at Barcelona, the issues that he's facing, and the problems that he's actually causing on Barcelona with his own decisions, and the sort of, the mess that they're Barcelona are in right now. They're not in a good position. So he is under a lot of pressure, Xavi. But do you see Mourinho taking over a job from there?
I know it may seem like I'm against Mourinho, but no, I just think Barcelona have always been, well, in recent times, as far as I can remember, a team that likes to play tiki-taka football. They like to have the best players in the world, players who are very skillful, and players who, well, they want teams to come to the new camp and fear them because they're going to get absolutely pummeled with shots against them, with chances created against them, with constant pressure. And like we say, Mourinho's teams don't bring that. So I think Mourinho come to Barcelona, may win Barcelona or La Liga or a Copa del Rey, but they don't want that. They want the Champions League. And I think the way football's moving forward, I know I reiterate it constantly. I think Mourinho and a job in club football looks very slim, especially the Premier League. But I think Barcelona is one of those teams outside of the Premier League, which I think is a no-no. I think maybe a team in Italy would suit him again. I know at Roma it didn't work out in the end. Well, for various reasons, we won't go into it now.
I disagree with that. Yeah,
I think
him, but...
Do you not?
No.
I think that's a video for another day. But in terms of managing in Italy, it would suit him better because of the pragmatic style.
The best league for
it's
him.
A defensive style of play out there. The whole Italian league is built off defensive football. Look at the great Italian teams: Nesta, Maldini, all these sort of big names at the back. I think Gattuso is Italian. He plays in midfield. That holding midfielder. They're not really known for their strikers and their creative players. So I think Mourinho at Barcelona would be a big no-no because of the whole ethos around Barcelona and even the league itself. Because we've seen La Liga, a lot of the managers look at someone like Iraola. He'd come from La Liga, a mid-table side in La Liga. I think it was Rayo Vallecano, and he plays expansive football.
Led them to their best finish in 10 years, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he was a perfect fit for a team in La Liga because of the way Spanish football's played.
Yeah.
Passing, dictating play, tempo, and Mourinho team, as we just constantly keep saying, does not tailor to that.
I agree, and I think Barcelona, along with Ajax and even my own club Tottenham, those three clubs, in fact, in Europe, are probably the biggest clubs that demand a style of play in terms of the way they want to play football. Barcelona, the way they demand their style of play.
I don't think Mourinho would suit Liverpool at all.
No, of course, no, but in terms of like the way the fact, like, this is what would remind me of Mourinho going to Barca. It would 100% remind me of Jose Mourinho going to Tottenham in terms of going to a rival club. If the fans were there during Mourinho's season, obviously majority of the season they weren't, I think it'd have been gone earlier if the fans were there. Like if Tottenham fans were there in the stadium,
they wouldn't have taken it, would they?
No, absolutely not. It'd have turned toxic way before. He wouldn't have even been sacked on that cup final. It'd been months and months before because we just wouldn't have. We would have had it, and we saw under Conte how like annoyed and just bored the Tottenham fans were, and that it'd be even worse at Barcelona because of the standards that they have in their club.
Exactly.
They
don't want a Copa del Rey or La Liga. They want a Champions League, and I don't think Mourinho brings that.
Like Tottenham were in a position under Mourinho and under Conte where we thought, okay, if they win us a trophy, we're not going to complain. But Barcelona don't even care about that. They don't care. Like Zach just said, they want a Champions League trophy. They don't even care.
And when I say Mourinho doesn't bring that, I know he has got European pedigree, so that might seem silly to say that. But in terms of, I think in Europe on the biggest stage, Barcelona want to express themselves with this. Yeah, exactly.
You think of the way they're
we don't want to be winning like 1-0 away against Juventus or grinding out results. Yeah, the pep teams that are just filled with superstar talents. I think it's not tailored. Even the players at Barcelona now, De Jong, Pedri, Gavi, Gundogan, they're not suited to that sort of like style of play that Mourinho wants to play. They're suited to a manager who would like tiki-taka style. I even think someone like Iraola would be a better fit for Barcelona than Mourinho.
I think Zach's bang on. I think Zach's absolutely bang on. I think Barcelona they demand a certain style of play, and if you're not going to play like that, like Zach's right. I think the only way that Mourinho would get away with winning the Champions League like that is if he's at an Italian club because they know that style of play.
Or even at PSG because they crave the Champions League.
But yeah, in terms of not a club on Barca's level, let's be real, not because there's no PSG and no clubs in Italy on Barca's level, and they demand their football a certain way. Them and Ajax, it's actually come from the likes of Cruyff and Ajax.
His influence on both Ajax and Barcelona.
Yeah, exactly. His influence on Ajax and Barcelona, that's what it's come from, the way those two clubs demand their style of play. Barca would not sit there and watch Mourinho football and accept it.
Especially if it starts to...
Well, exactly. Which it could happen, let's be real. If the players that they have, it doesn't suit their Mourinho system and the way Mourinho sets up, and if he just loses a couple of games, it's just going to go mental. Not even because of his style of football, but just because of who he is as well, who's managed.
Real Madrid.
And
he had that famous win, over the 2 legs with Inter Milan on their Champions League.
They're not going to like him. They're not going to like him. And
they're not going to warm to him at all.
Not at all, exactly. That's
and when it's not going well, you want the fans to get on the manager's side, and even the players I don't think would get on the manager's side as such.
No. So unfortunately for me, I don't think he's finding a job in football now.
No. Jobless. Apart from international, so he is.
He's jobless.
He's absolutely jobless. He may as well just go into punditry or something.
But I do think a club that is out there that he could go to is Newcastle. I think that is actually
You think that's the most realistic option and the most viable option?
Yeah, I think that's
or a team in Italy.
Of course, a team in Italy mainly. Yeah, if Inter, I don't really know their situation, or Juve, I'll be honest, I don't really pay attention too much to their situation, so I'm not going to sit.
If one of the teams came calling, maybe a reunion at Inter Milan.
If one of them clubs came calling, then listen, he'd be perfect for them, without a doubt. But at the moment they're not. At the moment they're not at all. I think Mourinho will take a break, and I think he will look.
Especially Inter Milan, they're doing really well.
Exactly. Yeah, Inter Milan. Yeah, I think another. Actually, we haven't really touched on this. I think another place he could go is Saudi Arabia.
Potentially,
but
if the man, because
that
then
kills his career. I think that if he goes to Saudi Arabia, I think
he doesn't get another job in anywhere in Europe.
No, that kills his managerial career.
If he had a job in Saudi, he'd get a whopping salary. But Mourinho's already got a lot of money. We know he's rich enough. He doesn't need that sort of money.
What was that stat? He made like 98 million. Probably
from
now
getting
with Roma
sacked,
sacking, it's probably over 100 million pounds he's made from being sacked. So he
ridiculous.
doesn't need the money, that's for sure.
And all of the money he's made whilst working at those clubs. So yeah, he doesn't need the money at all. So either Newcastle or a team in Serie A. But for me, I think the best job for him moving forward, and the one I think he will go for if the opportunity arises, is a job in international management. Either a team who hasn't had international success in a long time. I don't think Argentina would have ever gone for him, but in a team like Argentina, who haven't really won a big trophy in a while, they haven't won the World Cup. I know Brazil haven't won the World Cup, but like I said, he wouldn't go to Brazil. But a team like Portugal would probably be the perfect fit.
Actually a really good, suitable place. Listen, I think they got Roberto Martinez at the moment. Obviously, he transferred, well not transferred, but like in terms of came there after the Belgian job. It didn't really be too successful there, but we're sort of still seeing how he's doing at Portugal, because he's not been. I'm not saying he's been the best. I haven't really watched Portugal too much, but I'm not really seeing him under scrutiny too much. No, they haven't been abysmal. But I think that someone like Mourinho, I think he's got a lot more caliber than Roberto Martinez. I think he could come in and he could completely transform Portugal's hopes of winning a trophy, because
change their fortunes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, going to the Euros, they're not really the favourites. You've got England and France, but I think
despite their squad is filled with quality players.
Exactly, and I think if Mourinho came in, I think they're instantly not favourites, but up there with the likes of England and France as favourites for the Euros and the World Cup.
Anyway, before we wrap up, comment down below where you think Mourinho will go. Will he go to a team in the Premier League, a team in Serie A, a team in La Liga, a team in the Bundesliga, a team in Ligue 1, or will he take a job in international management? Comment down below your thoughts, like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you in the next one.